but fantasies. Not but fantasies. I'll get to those one day. Fantasies, however. Fantasies are important. They're something that's solely yours. They're the last thing that's really secret until Facebook releases a cheeky, "What's your full neurological scan type?" Tee quiz. I think it's important to separate fantasies, though. I'm very happy this is an internet show because it's unfair to ask someone to examine the one part of their brain that should indulge in unexamined joy. Nobody wants to imagine a shitty boss getting humiliated and fired, only to stop and ask themselves, but what's this doing for HR? There's a difference, though, I think, between the fucked up kinks that are 100% the fault of your parents. Listen to that. And always remember. And the fantasies that come with being alive and knowing that being alive is just bullshit. You can quote all of the physicists from Asimov to Hawking about the cosmic and mathematical beauty of this universe, and I will still be mad when I learn that I exist to suck. Then to suck while walking, then to suck while walking and occasionally having orgasms, and then to suck while doing all of that but worse, and finally to suck myself to death. Human beings are born signed up to the worst subscription box imaginable. Oh, food, right? Cool. Weird, but cool. I guess I'll do this food, and then I'll see you next month. I'm sorry, what? Okay, but if I do that 3 times a day, I will eventually become a skin sack full of chewed meat and bones, right? I'm sorry, I have to what? Where? When? What do you mean, whenever I have to? I am 2 minutes old and I'm incredulous. I'm looking for a camera. Ha, there, look, that asshole has one. Oh, so the person who thinks that a Jackson Pollock piece celebrating the diversity of pain in human bodily fluids is a precious memory is one of the people in charge of subscription box distribution? Fuck my life. Can't I just give you my stem cells and crawl into a medical waste receptacle? One of my fantasies is to have $1 million, not because I want the resources to make software that replies to every Russian bot tweet with gifs of the last time their bot designer jerked it to gay porn. I mean, I kind of would, but I just want to buy a taco without checking my bank account first. That's the measure of a dystopia, truly. A man can't buy tacos. Surely, someone says, they can't buy a meal in a tortilla Chipotle taco, and I say no, not even a Taco Bell taco. Winston works, but he can't afford tacos. Surely just as affecting as a cage with hungry rats being tied to a dude's face. And fun fact, Taco Bell does offer that too. It's called the feed bag. It comes with a Baja Blast, and it is just $4.99 or free with any thought crime. It's cool though. They put your choice of red sauce or cheese on the rat. This is Morning Perfect Base. I am Van Velding, and I'm going to work on my bass a little bit each week. And after a few weeks, we are going to see how much progress I've made. Today, if you couldn't tell, I am actually catching up with some changes I made since the last time. I will eventually make some farms today, but first, I kind of took you on a tour there. You see the whole new aquarium that I built since the last time. You see the new walls, the prototype wall that I built. Let's get a good shot of that aquarium. Looks great. Fucking love it. It's got all kinds of goddamn fish in it. I do not make these regularly because it is difficult for me to sit my ass down and to read articles and then to write articles and then to read the bullshit I just read and to do a little research, which requires a little more research, which requires a major rewrite. And then I quit and play fucking Minecraft. So here we are with an aquarium that definitely wasn't here last time, plus some other shit like this escape tunnel, which was actually really great. One of the things that I want for this base is that it's not just a standard metal door on the outside to just bop in, bop out. I want like secret exits and shit, because that's fucking fun. Why would I need to explain why I want that? Another thing is that I recently took a few weeks off to reflect on shit, to try to put everything into an ordered structure and to find a productive way to interact with all of it. This series is me trying to digest the news, turning hard rocks into soft poop extruded from a YouTube. Really, goddamn pufferfish. Really, all that reflection leaves me with is either this aggressive, selfish indifference or actual fucking supervillainy. That said, today I'm talking about pride. So I made these videos and I make internet content, and the part of that which no one really talks about is the event calendar. Take February. February had the State of the Union, Valentine's Day, the Oscars, and the Umbrella Academy. So there's every reason that if I wanted to discuss as a topic Kevin Hart being a huge homophobe whose continued acceptance across many platforms fills me with contempt for Hollywood and Silicon Valley alike, then I would want to time that around the Oscars, right? If I wanted to pitch my favorite comics, I would time that for the week the Umbrella Academy came out. Now, obviously, I don't do this because of that reading, writing, researching, Minecrafting thing I just mentioned. But in making a calendar that leaves those options open to me, I am aware of just how nonstop these little events are. Consider June. June had the NBA Finals, D-Day, Father's Day, Flag Day, X-Men Dark Phoenix, the Tonys, Juneteenth, the Summer Solstice, Toy Story 4, the end of Ramadan, and Frank Day, the anniversary of Loving vs. Virginia, Cancer Survivors Day, the Electronics Entertainment Expo, My Stigmas Day, I don't know either, the anniversary of Obergefell vs. Hodges and the legalization of gay marriage, The Secret Life of Pets 2, and nothing on the full list that I cut down to make this list makes me say fuck off more than this, Social Media Day. That's a lot, and if you don't know, June is also Pride Month. And Alzheimer's Month, ALS Month, National Safety Month, Aphasia Month, Hernia Month, PTSD Month, and last but not least, African American Music Appreciation Month, which I thought was called the Grammys or possibly the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but fuck me, what do I know except what I learned in that summer course on the history of rock and roll, which was basically, yeah, black folks, Mississippi River, and then Whitey stole it, which, if you swap out the right rivers, could serve as a model for about 60% of world history. Regardless, this is not me as a comfortable, healthy, antisocial, anti-sports dude going, oh, we have so many holidays for me to sit down and observe. Oh, I cannot do every one, so let's just, and I'm being really reluctant and respectful here, cut out all of the minority ones. It's me talking about a series of events. As a golden Labrador once said, life is a cruel, uncaring void. The key to happiness isn't to search for meaning. It's to keep yourself busy with unimportant nonsense, and eventually, you'll be dead. Now, unless you celebrated June 11th's National Call Your Doctors Day, call them about what? What? You have to admit that some of these things are unimportant nonsense. My goal isn't to agitate for fewer observances, but to pessimistically remind you. Well, I guess pessimistic reminding is a bit redundant given the context of what I talk about here. So instead of that, I'm just going to say Van Velde. My goal isn't to agitate for fewer observances, but to Van Velde you of the very light meaning of Pride Month to society at large. So when I say unimportant nonsense and you reflexively call me stupid and, more accurately, motherfucker because pride means a lot to you, it's not because I'm ascribing an absolute value to a celebration for a status about ourselves which straight people delineated, which straight people often made illegal, which straight people punished judicially and extrajudicially with punished extrajudicially, meaning punished with death while police looked the other way, which straight people used as an insult, which straight people created slurs for, and which straight people constantly used as a pretext to use every power within their reach to inconvenience, harass, harm, and ultimately destroy us. And no, not every straight person, but certainly even the most homophobic gays only had a small role in creating a culture which hates us by default, except Peter Thiel. Fuck Peter Thiel. I'm describing the value that straight people hold towards us by default. When I was a kid, I watched and read enough sci-fi that I began rolling my eyes every time someone described people as being afraid of what they don't understand. But Jeezy cheesy Christ, people will start searching for pretexts to murder you just because you find a man pretty, or want to take pills to grow breasts, or eschew sex, or a brown holy shit that's fucked up human race. What we call civilization penetrates into humanity the same way a dropped ice cream cone penetrates into a sidewalk concrete. In Fort McMurray, Canada, In winter, imagine a bunch of apes, 2 steps above Homo erectus, who've learned to perform a truck dispatch, attract a mate, create a comfort zone full of numbing beer and safe emotional outlet, and a constantly turning wheel of sports whose team identities are integrated into their own in proportion to that team's win percentage. Their powers of political self-determination extend just far enough to adopt for life the theory of government which makes them personally blameless. And as long as something is pleasing and said apes can stay in their comfort zone, those things are harmless. Now, I'm not singling out straight folks here in any respect other than that they've historically chosen to other us and that they'll swap around with zero awareness and accuse us of the same when we self-organize into communities to help one another overcome that othering. But us gays are just as susceptible to all of that ape behavior. Gays can be racist, homosexuals can be shitty to bisexuals or even transgender folks. I mean, ever since Oberfeld, I've gotten more than one fuck you, I got minefield from the stupidest gays I know. So biphobia and transphobia are real flaws that we have and point towards each other. In addition to being a gay man who has a lot of internalized homophobia and definitely has that ape-driven disdain for the world around me because it's not me, I'm on no pedestal here. But we're talking about hate towards the LGBT community, kinetic hate and potential hate, public nay, stylish acceptance of the LGBT community is a product of the environment. And we are one bad economic downturn, or to pick a random example, a civilization nut-checking global calamity from being the path of least resistance for angry, stupid apes trying to mow down every potential threat and competitor for resources. Someone will remind me to do a whole bit about how exigent circumstances for the masses is a great way for elites to press through self-serving extremist political actions, because I can't do that right now. Once it's not another topic, another of the unimportant nonsense that fills their lives, when the support is no longer fashionable or easy, you don't need to have kids in cages to make this sound not crazy. But Magneto was right to ask, what will you do when they pass that law? What do you do when you wake up to that? Right now, I'm looking at an article from the New York Times that asks, he killed 3 Muslim students. Was it a hate crime? The dude vocally hated Muslims and then shot 3 Muslim kids dead. Sure, he was yelling about a parking space, but it's never about the parking space. Was it a hate crime? The folks who hate us, who actively hate us, who lobby to make women have kids so they can throw those kids into unlicensed for-profit kiddie concentration camps if they aren't vocal enough about fucking girls at the age of 12. Leah Alcorn was sent to a conversion therapy camp by her parents before she killed herself in 2014 at the age of 17. They're still out there. And they're relentless. The serial killer. Members of the LGBT community was sentenced in June. Dallas had a rash of transgender women of color being killed. 2 Georgia men hurled gay epithets before shooting a gay man who was just going into work. Avery Juwan Scurlock was killed in Lumberton, North Carolina. A retired Tennessee cop turned preacher promoted the execution of gays. They're out there, and they're relentless. Roe versus Wade has been around for 46 years, and it probably won't make it to 50, because the ice cream doesn't penetrate the concrete. So, I mean, what then? I think one of the things that's wrong with the world is that everybody talks about stuff, but so many people are too afraid to say what can be done about it. I mean, the NBC Nightly News says that the president is willing to take aid from foreign governments to serve his personal needs, and then they're like, now the weather. And honestly, welcome to Nightvale should sue over using their catchphrase to leave all of us bewildered and slightly afraid in what is a blatant attempt at stealing their shtick. I can't say anything to gay people. We contribute to society. We're artists, coders, nurses, leaders, reporters, nurses, doctors, teachers, and 100 other things like nurses. And certainly we celebrate when the opportunists in our midst, like Milo Yano, not so relevant anymore, joins a mosh pit of vipers and gets his vein filled with irrelevance venom because he chose to play with vipers. But there's no modest height public caprice can't pull us down from. We can't earn respect when respect is a feeling that passes like hunger or love or liking your Twitter followers. What we can do is seize social power, real power, on the same level as assumed homosexuality, to reframe sexuality and gender as a spectrum that shatters the cisgendered heterosexual majority identity. That's not altogether bad. I mean, the point of tolerating diversity is realizing that people are really, really diverse and that normal is simply a safe, unquestioned societal default, which provides behavioral direction for people who would otherwise have none. But Kinsey scale or not, it's a big ideological goal, and I'm not sure it's not disrespectful to folks who identify as cis heterosexuals. Is dangling gray sexuality in front of someone who comfortably identifies as heterosexual any less disrespectful than the reverse? In the words of Lure of Omicron Persei I-8, yes, but not by enough. And ultimately, we are just not that powerful. The option would be to stop being an other, but since no civilization in history hasn't had gays, or has been able to make gays stop existing. Also, it's fucked up to make someone trade their sexuality and gender identity in exchange for survival when those features have no bearing on survival. And because in a society with strict gender roles and heteronormative relationships, straight folks will continue to consider us as something outside of the norm. The solution is to transform gender roles and remove regressive, socially created norms about relationships between couples and within families that exclude the LGBT community. So I guess maybe the only key to our survival is to destroy traditional marriage. What did I say about everything eventually leading back to supervillainy? I mean, either that or the straights dissolve the importance they place on gender and sexuality as it exists now. So that really leaves us with the one choice by necessity. I mean, I'm open to other alternatives. This doesn't sound like a great idea. But you look at the facts as presented here, and those are the options that are available. I don't know. It's interesting to pass time mulling over these sorts of options when climate change isn't going to give us an opportunity to do any of it. So, I mean, maybe that aggressive selfishness is just the way to go in the phase of the apocalypse. God. Is that right? All right. It doesn't seem quite right. Never seemed weird. Seems wonky. It's new. I mean, generally I'll just go with the long columns. Let me check your notes. I'll be honest, I've said my piece on this subject, and I think that everything I've done to... I think I got this garden wrong, and the rest of this is just going to be me unfucking this garden to create one furrow in the middle. You know, I steal the garden design from the villagers because I like the aesthetics. It's very simple. It's very approachable. And I alter the edges so it uses stairs. And it just uses the logs at the corner where the lights go. But I fucked this up. And I think the rest of this video, I think I am just going to be spending the next few minutes. I'm just trying to unfuck my garden here. Whenever I'm just going to make more like this. And I'm not 100% on the math here either. Because I think this thing's supposed to be an odd width. But you got 4 seeds in the middle. So that means it has an even width because each wing is the same length. Regardless, I'm just going to roll right into the part where I say, always keep learning and always keep asking questions.